What's up, everybody? So it's been a while since I made a video, so got a new truck, the Sierra Denali Ultimate. So it's time to do some add-ons to it. And the first thing that we're gonna do today is put in the new EGR Tonneau cover. It's an electric tonneau cover that is supposed to be the best of the best. So let's go through the process of putting it on and test it out and see how it works. Before we get started with the install, I wanted to give a heads up that this is a little bit longer of an install video. So what I've done is show each step by step where other people kind of fast forward through all of those things. I wanted to show the details and the toe stumps and the successes that we had during the journey of installing this. You can see EGR sends it in a pretty protective casing on a pallet and skid, and this is how it comes. I ordered a couple other pieces they'll probably show putting on, but were easy to put on. The bug guard for the hood and the window vents as well. So what I've done is I've taken the box out, got all my parts lined up on my table ready to go. In other installation videos, I've seen them use the silicone as a double barrier and then the silicone plastic safe spray to clean out when you finish. And then a burring tool. There's the top panel for the roller case and then the two side rails. First step that we need to do is get through the engine compartment into the boot that is located behind all of that. So I've got the Duramax diesel in my Sierra. So as everyone says, that compartment is jam-packed. But if I look back there, kind of right there is where the boot is. So I have to take this carpet and look behind here. So I need to remove this because it's tucked under and it'll fold nicer, which will involve taking this and this and this off, which they just pop off. So I took the whole side panel out and there is a roof panel, and looking, I don't really see any area except for behind this module right here. You can't see the little area where it comes through, so mine's a little trickier. Looks like it may be a little tight. May have to take the battery out to get more room. So you have to take all of these off and unplug that and that bolt, and then there's a bolt down in there that you have to take off to take this cap off, and then you take this bolt and this bolt off along with that retainer that's down here to get the whole battery out. And that battery weighs a ton. There. So I wouldn't been able to reach it without getting the battery out. So I've found the nipple, as I pointed out before. It's right there behind this bracket. It's off so I can get at it a little bit better, so I'm going to remove that bolt and this come off. Now, with that bracket off, do you see the nipple right to the right? I just got to trim that tip off so that the wire should slide right in that canal. Okay, I got my fish through the cabin. As you can see right there is so I've fished the wire through the hole there. The key now to run it under the truck, I shined a flashlight up through there and it beamed through right there because I wanted to keep it away from all the hot stuff. It's almost directly behind the battery and where the wheel well cover is. And you get it down there. If you're lucky, you can let it drop down through there. I wasn't as lucky, so I used my fish stick and put it down through there. And it came out right beside the harness that you're going to be tapping into, not tapping, but zip tying this to get it to the back of the compartment, and then you're going to shoot across to the other side of the bed, to the left hand side, to go up the bed and through a hole that's a factory hole there with a plastic grommet in it with that. So it says to zip tie to that wire harness and follow it down the bed to where it crosses over the back and goes that way, and then there'll be different zip ties to use on the bed. My thing is that I'm not sure I'm going to get on the truck because I'm a big boy. I'm 6'6", about 190. Just kidding. 6'6", about 315. So I don't know if there's enough room for me. Might have to wait for my son to come home to help do that one. Excuse my hands being so dirty. Is those are little tabs that slide into, there's a little piece of sheet metal along the whole bottom of the truck bed, and they would just pop right on, and then it gives you the zip tie status. So brought the harness under this door, and right around the door is the body mount for the whole cab, right around that, and then those little tabs that I told you about, the zip ties. And the easiest way, instead of trying to fish over everything, is just take that whole cord, take it around, and just let it fall down this crack, and then you can catch it easier. But those little metal tabs are hard to get on there. You have to hold your butt just right to make them bite. But you'll know you're doing it right because of the extra aluminum covering over it is going right over the top of the muffler. And then you'll bring it through this hole. See, there's one on the other side just like it. Pull that tab off, pull the cord through, and then I pulled it all the way through and then pushed it through, and it sealed up perfectly. So one thing to note, in the instructions it says to zip tie through these holes above the exhaust. My bed doesn't have these holes, so I wasn't able to do that. So I added 2 more kind of right in, if these are little troughs, if you will, you know, the concave of the bed. Well, right there and on the other side is a hole in that, drilled into it. So you can run a zip tie through that hole and then catch the wire and zip tie it again. So that's good because it gives you 2 safety points to keep the wire from dangling. If these little things do not hold, the little metal retaining clips, those, and that'll like catch it. So I've got it very tight pulled on the left side and the right side, so there's not any slack. So that gives a little bit of slack at the end over where it comes up, and I zip tied that to the wall of the truck bed, so it's tight too. Now that I got the wire off the fish, I've got to get it back across to the driver's side. Now that I got my cable pulled through under the dash, which is really simple, but they send you this plug and play harness. Underneath the dash there'll be a pink plug going into the computer module. You'll unplug that, plug this into that, and then this will plug into the pink wiring harness that's from the factory, which then gives you this feed, which gets you to all the other cords and stuff. So they give you a piece of plastic connector that you will plug into this, and make sure you have your wires aligned with the same colors and the prongs are going to the right prong so that everything works fine. One thing to remember when you're putting your wires in, you see how it's, so I get the camera to focus, how that rounded end there, make sure that goes in to where, I don't know if you can get the camera there. If you look inside those white holes, there's little tabs. They're gonna snap into that back right there. And so you'll hear it snap. That means you're good. Let's see, if you get them clicked in, then you got red, red, orange, orange, black, black, red, red. If you look underneath the dash, you'll see the pink plug that you need to pull out. That's right there beside the gray one. So I'm gonna plug that out, and then I'll plug it in, unplug it, and then I'll plug it into the harness. She'll fight you. Now when you go down to unplug it, make sure you unplug and pull out the white safety tab, and then push in the plastic tab under the white safety tab, and it'll pull right out. Well folks, we're at a stopping point, because if you remember, this is the harness that comes with it that plugs into the computer module in there. Well, I knew I was concerned when I looked, and they're not the same shade of pink. So if you remember, I said it didn't come with any instruction manual, so I had to go and print it off. Well, in the instructions, it says that if you have a 22 and beyond, then you have to run the wire through here up to your B pillar, and there's another hookup harness here in the B pillar. But I've taken this B pillar off, and there is nothing there. There's no harness, there's no connector. The only connector is a connector to the automatic restraint system, and I know it's not tapping into that, and plus the wires are a different color. So it's a Saturday now, so I've emailed EGR to see what kind of fix they can do. So it's Saturday and I need my vehicle back, so I'm going to go ahead and hook it all back up. I'm going to go ahead and hook these in. This goes to that nut there, and then this grounding one goes to the, let's see if I can get it, grounding bar right there, and it'll be hooked up to electric. But the fuses are out, so there's nothing going to it. Well folks, I talked to the EGR tech rep, and was a massive help. So in the picture, you can see, looks like this unit that I gotta tap into would be here, and that's what I was looking. But it's the door unit is what it's meaning. So my misconception, but there is the wires that we're gonna have to tap into. And it says the blue and yellow and the white is where we gotta go. Okay, so found the wire harness, and forgive the shadowing. And they say to strip the sheathing off and tap right into the wire that way and wrap the wire around it. So the blue and the yellow, the blue and the yellow will get the orange, which is the red cord where I had to splice it to make it longer. And then I'll find the white one, do the same with the white, and that will be what would be the brown cord. One additional step that you have to do is have one of these and go in the center of the wire and kind of pry it out so that you can put your new wire down in between that crevice and then twist it around. So now that I've done that, I'll take some 3M electrical tape and wrap around that to hold it even better and protect it. One little trick that I did is I use this to hold that wire out so you don't cut your finger or the other wire, because they are tiny wires, and using a razor blade to make sure you get it open. As you can see, that's what I did here. Now I'll put in zip ties to make sure that there's no pulling that out, and to make it even better tight bundle. So now we're in the fun part of getting into the bed and doing all the install. And the first thing it says to do is to remove both your tail lights. And there'll be 2 bolts to hold your tail lights in. One thing to note when you take the tail lights out is they are extremely tight in there to pull out. Other videos you see, it shows them kind of just pulling it out. Maybe it's because mine are the LEDs or Denali or something, but they are quite hard to pull out. And then you just pull that safety tab out, and then that will, big old fat fingers, hard to get in there. That'll pull out. Then there's another little latch here that holds the wire, and then pull them out. Now that you got the tail lights out, if you've got a Sierra, you're gonna need to take the grab bar off because it's just too close to where the hole needs to be, and you might nick your grab bar. So what I did is drill an 1.5 inch hole that's 3 3/32 over from that hole. So now I'm gonna have to take my deburring tool to deburr this, and then I'll paint that so that it doesn't rust. Now you have to drill 2 holes at the back of the bed that is 15 3/8 down from there to there, and then 7 3/8 from there to there, which is right there. So, you know, kind of diagonally down from that hole. Now, I've put a piece of wood back there so that when I drill through the hole, if I don't have control over it for whatever reason, I don't go into my truck bed, my cab. So, shouldn't happen, but just in case. Now I've got the hole drilled, and I'll just deburr it and then sand it a little bit and then paint it, and should be done. I'll leave that board there so it'll catch the paint spray. So now I'm on the other side, did the same thing, marked my distance of 15 3/8 from the bed bottom and 7 3/8 from the side of the truck. Taped it up so that I could drill through it and also paint it right after. Put the board back here to prevent me from drilling through into the cab for whatever reason, because it does bite that metal and want to pull you. So just be careful of that. Now we need to take these and run them into these holes, and it says to come out and down your tail light, down in your tail light column. Now I've got all of the tubes in. One thing to remember that I didn't, so shame on me, is I got my directions mixed up, and you should have an 1.5 inch bit to do the back, and an 1.16 or 1/8 rather, 1.1/8 to do the front. But they still, I did them all in 1/2 inch, but they still fit in there good. I'm gonna put some silicone in there, and that should seam it right up. So the last thing it says to do is to take the tube and zip tie it to the cord there, so it holds it straight down the middle so that it can drain. I noticed in the directions it has the tube coming down through here, but I chose to run it in there because I felt like the tail light might push up against the tube. But if you look, there's, see if I can get the camera in there. There's ground down there, so you should be okay. Just like there's ground, see it? Right there. It goes all the way right there. So you should be good. The tail light's back in, the rubber boots are in, grab bar's back in, and now we're ready to do the next step, which is the rails. So now they're wanting to put these retaining clips behind here. And in the instructions it says you should be able to know where they're at, but maybe I'm just a little harder following instructions than others, but I'm like, there's nothing there to tell me where it's at. So you need to take a plastic or something so you don't scratch your bed. Right there is where they pop in on left and right side. Then they're gonna tell you to get the drilling bit jig and slide it up into there, and it'll pop right into the hole of that grommet that we put in there just a minute ago, and then drill that piece of plastic out. And now you gotta find there's other holes to drill in here. They look like they're kind of aligned with these board markers. So you do the same thing as you did there, but without the clip inside, but with the jig along there. Then you'll slide that in and you'll fill it snug into the hole, and that'll give you a point. Okay, so you'll line this jig up on 4 more holes along the bed. And if you take your finger back there, you can fill them. And then just kind of slide it around and it'll pop in as you slide down and pop in. There's 1, 2, 3, and 4. The next step that you have to do is take a 7/16 inch bit and don't hit the metal, but make that hole 7/16 on all of the holes. The next thing that you got to do is clean this with alcohol and let it dry. I got, it says isopropyl alcohol, so I got some from Amazon. And I'll rub it down, clean it up, and let that dry for a few. And then you'll take the rubber strip and we'll place that over here on top of that as your gasket. And then it's gonna ask you to caulk. That rubber strip will come up against here and we'll need to caulk that edge over there. And it says to caulk this, but I'm not gonna caulk it because, I mean, that is just extremely tight and I'm not messing with it. Plus I don't wanna get caulk on my bed. In the instructions, it says to take it out of the package and dry fit it up here to see if you need to cut it to length, but mine was perfect out of the box. Now that I got that down, one thing I forgot to mention is that before you put the tape down, you can put that 3M adhesive activator below it and help that stick. So you take these plates and put the jigs on them, and each one of them is labeled per the side, left and right. And you see how the jig kind of protrudes over? That's gonna help you hold it on the side of the bed while you take the screws in these plates and screw them in. So what the instruction says for you to do next is to put the canister upside down on top of the top of the box that came in, and the rails on top of the box, the bottom of the box, so that everything's the same level. And then it tells you to tape the rubber down so that it'll slide into this and not get caught up. So the first thing that it asks you to do is to expose 3 flats sections, which I did. And I pulled and pulled and pulled, and it wouldn't come out. But there's a lock right here. Make sure you unlock it and it'll come right out. The next thing that we need to do is take that tape off of it so that the wire loom comes off on both of them, and then we're gonna slide it into position. So now that you get these on, you flip it over and you gotta make sure the gasket right there is not twisted inside of there, which is why you would tape up to begin with. The one booger bear is, so I don't have to flip it back over. So if you look, you got to get up in there to tighten that bolt, and an Allen wrench won't fit very well. It will on this side, but on the other side, there's a metal piece that's up there, and I had to cut my Allen wrench at the bottom and use wrench to tighten it down. Maybe they could change that bolt to a bolt instead of an Allen wrench, and that would be much easier. Next thing you do is remove the 3 screws that are at the top, because that's going to be what holds the top on. There's 1, 2, and then the 3rd one over there. Inside of there, there's a piece of foam tape. Make sure you pull that out of the block before you do it. And it says to spray with soapy water. So make sure you pull the tape out on this, out of this hole, and then spray with soapy water to make it easy to glide in, because you're gonna slide your top into there. So when you spray that soapy water on it, it'll slide right in. There's a little piece of tape that you gotta remove right here. And then that gasket will fill in. And then it'll push in. But make sure that your holes line up there. Because it'll want to stay out. Just give it a little nudge, and then you'll see the hole is lined up there for your bolts. After you've reconnected the 3 screws here, then you'll get 4 more, because there'll be 2 that's under here and then 2 that's under there, if you remember the holes that I pointed out. So I ran them wires right through there and then feed it through underneath there, and it'll hold that down, and then zip tie them along there. And the same over here, kind of down through there and there and up through there. Next thing to do is to put this rubber seal into the track around the rails, and it'll go inside the groove with that, see if you can focus on it, out. And once you get that rubber seal in there, you start there in that corner and work around as you channel. Remember, leaving that flap to the outside. Do not stretch the rubber, just all around there. It's very tedious on both sides. Then you're gonna have leftover that you'll trim right there at the end. Next thing that we need to do is install these into there. You'll see the metal plate that comes with it slides right into there, and 2 holes to bolt right through, and it was there as well. So it's black bolts here, the longer ones with a 10mm, I believe. So what I've done now is lifted this up and into the bed, and it sits in there pretty tight. Make sure you spray soap down here, and that's so the gasket won't get bound up. And then just manually adjust it to where it's 1 inch and 1/16 from here to there. And then we'll go and put the bolts in and go from there for the next step. But word to the wise, this thing is heavy, so make sure you get help putting it in the bed. And what little trick is I put a jack under here and jacked it up to make sure I didn't bound any of the wires in when I was lowering it down into the hole. To show you what I was talking about, so these bolts, and remember to do them loosely, because you're gonna have to align it after you get done with the jig. And they just go right into these holes, and you may have to push it this way or that way to align the holes. And then, because it's kind of pointless to get to that 1 inch and 1/16 now that I've done this, we'll have to do it afterwards. I'll put 6 bolts on that side and 6 bolts on that side. And remember to leave them loose as you're going along. Don't do it too tight, because the holes need to realign. Okay, inside of the box also comes a jig that's included, and you'll assemble the jig to where the slide goes into here. Slide it all the way against where it's flush against there. On the other side too, and that helps keep everything straight. Then measure from here to the corner over there. Get your dimensions. My top one was 93. That corner to this, and when I say the top, I'm meaning right there. Mine was 93 and 93. And that means it's perfectly square, so I can get under and tighten all the 12 bolts. So now that we've tightened all the bolts, it says to pull this out to make sure it rolls freely, and mine did. Let's see. Put it back in. And remember, there's a lock to push in to get it to come out, because you may pull on it and like, it's not coming. There's that lock right there. And then you're gonna have to, after you do your bolts, then you put the drains that you put in before into the box itself. There's little gaskets that it kind of fits in and snugs up, and on both the left and right side. And then on the front, it's littler ones with zip ties. So like I said, they're little ones with zip ties. And I used a little bit of soap water on there to get it to go on a little easier and not have to fight it. And so what you want to do next is take off the 2.5 millimeter screws there to lower your doors on both sides. And you're going to pull the tonneau out and lubricate everything on the left and right side where the gears are with your silicone safe, plastic and rubber safe silicone. Now that we opened the 2 gates and sprayed silicone in there, like I said, pulled the tonneau back and forth, make sure the lock is unlocked. Now we'll go to the next step, which is inserting the fuses into the harness. So put the fuses in so the system is live, and I'm supposed to hold these down for 5 seconds, and the light should start blinking for the the tonneau cover to calibrate. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Bingo. Says it should close and open 2 full times and blink once it's calibrated. So now that it's calibrated, by the way, I think I said 2. It's actually supposed to be 1 time. It'll do it automatically, and then it's calibrated. And then you press the button to close it. Is closed, and then that button to open it. There's 2 more holes that you have to drill a 3/16 hole and pop rivet in, I guess to add extra security to the tonneau cover, on 2 on that side and 2 on this side. And once you do that last step of the rivets, it says that it should be locked with the car locked. So let's see if it works. Yes, it's locked. You heard the horn blow. That was the car locking. Now it's unlocked. And she works. And you can press and stop it at anywhere you want. Then go back. And it does have a safety mechanism that, see how it stopped with my hand in there, to keep from smooshing it. Now, to use your key fob, you should be able to lock the door, and if it's open, it will auto close. And that's what it does. Now to unlock it and auto roll it back, you should press it twice. And it does. So we finished the install. It's all installed. It's worked perfectly. I've had it in the truck for probably close to a month. Numerous rainstorms, numerous car washes, and it has done as advertised. Some of the things that I do like about it is that when you walk away from the truck and you forget to close it and the truck auto locks, this shuts and locks automatically. Using the remote on the key fob has worked extremely well, so I don't have to use even these buttons here. But the good thing is that we do have buttons here, and the buttons are over on the other side to allow you to open and operate this flawlessly. Unlike my last tonneau cover that was manual, it had a locking mechanism here, like a lever, which sent a tooth into the metal, and that's what was really holding it. So it wasn't really as strong as you would think. Whereas in this one, it's all gear operated, and so that when you hit these buttons and hit them again to stop it at any pathway you want to help protect what's in there, or if you've got 2x4s out, you can run them up against a 2x4, and it helps lock them down even though you've got them belted down, hopefully. I look forward to buying stuff for the T-channel here. That's going to be a big plus for bike rack or ski racks, or just extra storage, if you will. Looking back, it's added a really good look to the truck. It's allowed me to travel with suitcases, and they've stayed completely dry. There is very little, if any, water penetration, and the only water penetration that I've seen is right in here. You can actually feel there's a gap between the back and here. So when I say water penetration, it's not a downfall, it's drops. So as you can see, it's down as far as it'll go because there's a bolt in here that sucks it down, but there still needs to be a bigger gasket right here that I may put in later on. But from here all the way to here, there is no water, none. It's completely dry. So overall, I give this tonneau cover a 9.9. The only reason I'm taking off is one little problem with the gasket here, which I don't think is big as it sounds. And two, the installation was a task full and it was challenging. One thing that did happen that you don't see in the install video is that they sent these inside of here are the rails that hold this on. It says it fit my truck, but they must have accidentally set the wrong rails. But as soon as I let them know, they next date them out. They didn't send it ground, they didn't send it 2 or 3 days. They UPS next date them out to me without even asking for it. So customer service with them is A++. So I don't think you'll go wrong by spending a few extra dollars and getting this tonneau cover. Well, that sums up this video. I know it was a long one, but I wanted to show you all the nooks and crannies and all the toe stumps that I ran into installing, because as you know, with a DIY project, it doesn't always go perfect. But this was, as I look back, it was a bit challenging, but it was well worth it, because at the end, I've got a really nice tonneau cover and happy with my purchase. So I look forward to the next video we put out. So hit that like and subscribe button and come check us out in the future. Thanks.